member of parliament has started a project, they will think that it belongs to him and not with them, such that if another member of parliament is coming, he will believe that that project belongs to that member of parliament and not him, so the project remain stagnant. When we have these laws, it will be clear that the leaders will always finish the projects that have been started, because, Madam Speaker, if you went around the country, you will realize that many projects are stalled because there are no laws or regulations that are made. With also this, we will have the public trust our officers, because they will know this project has started, it will be regulated, it will be followed till it is finished, and the money will be monitored on how it has been spent. So I support this motion and the committee for coming up with this, and we believe that our country will run well. Thank you very much.
Oh, very well. The Honorable Richard Kelel, member for Bomet Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this debate. I would like to support the regulations, because in the past we have been witnessing some projects being undertaken and then later on they're abandoned. So with these regulations, I don't think the court will be investing in areas where they are not viable. So, Madam Speaker, let me support the regulations and thank the committee for coming up with these regulations. Thank you so much.
Very well. The Honorable Edith Nyenze, member for Kitui West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to say that on the onset that I support the regulations as read out by the Delegated Legislation Committee. I note that public investment management is crucial for improving infrastructure and the economic growth of our country. And this will give guidelines on how such infrastructure will be governed, will be monitored, and especially for our express way, I say that it has really given a very good image to our country. We can now say Kenya can be compared to other developed countries, but we don't just want to see structures. We want to see structures which will also help us economically, which would improve our revenue, and which would even help us settle some of the debts. If left alone without being regulated, the PPPs can actually be mismanaged, and then the money will be going to other countries. It will not be helping our country. It will not be helping us economically. But with the regulations, then there will be set guidelines on how to effectively and efficiently run this the infrastructure, which would, with the time and with the set time, will actually resort to giving us revenue. So, Madam Speaker, I support these regulations. Thank you.
Very well. The Honorable Member for Nandi County, the Honorable Cynthia Muge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to the motion on the floor of the House. I am in support of the Public Investment Management Regulations of 2022. Honorable Speaker, like has been said from the onset from the honorable members of this House, these are regulations that are supposed to bring sanity, that are supposed to ensure that the public and the people of Kenya get value for money for any project that is undertaken. Honorable Speaker, this is a regulation that is also ensuring that it gives a stable footing to every person who wants to invest and use the public money, Honorable Speaker, to ensure that the money is used prudently and it is used for the benefit of the people of Kenya. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that I support this particular motion, and I urge the committee to be able to look into these issues to ensure that we also have implementation, Honorable Speaker. Like I have said time and again, Honorable Speaker, this country does not have a shortage of legislations and regulations. It has a shortage of implementation of the same regulations, Honorable Speaker. So I want to say that I support this motion, and I urge the honorable members to support so that I bring back sanity to this country, so that we will not be standing in this house as honorable members, Honorable Speaker, in saying that the people of Kenya cannot use the expressway, and the people of Kenya do not know how much money is being gotten from the expressway, Honorable Speaker, so that we have anyone setting foot in Kenya, anyone who wants to do business in Kenya, knowing that these are the reducible minimums that this country requires, Honorable Speaker. So I support this regulation, and I hope that it will be implemented, or to see that it is implemented to its entirety. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Kasim Tandaza, member for Matuga.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Kwanza nitoe shukurani kwa kamati husika kwa kuja na mwongozo mwafaka katika vile mali ya umma itaweza kutumika kwa manufaa ya nchi yetu. Kwanza, masikitiko ni hili neno mali ya umma, tukizungumza miradi ambayo ni ya umma, ya public kwa kimombo. Mara nyingi wale wanaohusika huwa haichukulii kwamba ni miradi ambayo wao pia inawahusu. Tumekuwa kwa muda mrefu tukifikiria kwamba mali ya umma ni mali ambayo haina mwenyewe, ni mali ambayo ni ya kufujwa, ni mali ambayo kila mtu anaweza fanya vile ambavyo anataka. Na katika mwongozo huu ambao umetolewa na hii kamati, kwanza tungeanzia na wale wanaohusika katika kutia sahihi miradi ya mali ya umma. Wasitie sahihi wakisema huu ni mradi wa umma, atie sahihi akijua kwamba yeye pia anahusika, na endapo haitafanyika vizuri basi yeye mwenyewe binafsi. Nafikiri kungekuwa na mwongozo kwamba ikiwa ana sign kama waziri ama ana sign kama mhandisi, asaini mara mbili, kwamba ana sign kiofisi na ana sign yeye mwenyewe kwamba ameelewa na pia yeye ameridhika kwamba mradi ule utaweza kufanyika kwa wakati unaofaa, kwa rasilimali ambazo zitakuwa zimetumika vyema. Haiingia akilini kwamba mradi unatiwa sahihi na mkandarasi mara nyingi kutoka nje akiwa anatoka China, na mradi huu bado haujafanywa tathmini ya ni lini utaanza. Tumekuwa na mradi kwa mfano kule kwangu eneo bunge la Matuga ambao ni mradi wa maji. Umetiwa saini, mkandarasi amekuja, ameweka mali yake pale, pia viongozi wa serikali wanakuja kuuzindua, lakini kunakuwa na mgogoro baina ya wizara inayohusika ya maji na wizara ya msitu. Bado wizara ya msitu haijatoa idhini kwamba mradi ule ufanyike, lakini tayari saini zimeshafanywa. Na kama ninavyofahamu kama mweledi wa nyanja hii, huwa kuna kipengee kwamba mradi tu ndakapo sign kuna pesa ambayo ni ilipwe kabla mkandarasi aanze kazi, na isipolipwa huwa basi inagharimu ile tunaita interest, ina riba ndani yake. Mara nyingine unapata kwamba kwa sababu mradi umechelewa, ile riba ambayo mkandarasi anadai hata inazidi ile pesa ambayo angekuwa analipwa kufanyia hii kazi. Kwa hivi sasa tuna mradi ule tunaoita Dongo Kundu kule eneo ya Pwani. Mkandarasi amefanya kazi kufikia 94%, imebaki 6%, lakini amedai fedha ambayo amepeana cheti kwa muda wa zaidi ya miezi 6. Kulingana na mkataba ni kwamba kuna ile inaitwa riba pale ndani kwa sababu hajalipwa kwa wakati unaofaa. Pesa hii ya riba inafika wakati inazidi ile pesa anayodai. Tusisahau kwamba huwa anadai pesa hii kwa kiwango ya sarafu ya kigeni ambayo ni ya dola. Saa hizi ukiangalia ubadilishaji wa pesa ya Kenya tunazungumzia mabilioni ya pesa ya Kenya, lakini yeye anadai na pesa ya kigeni, deni lile linazidi kuongezeka. Kwa hivyo nikimalizia kuunga mkono wa hoja hii, wale wanaotia saini wawe pia watawajibika kama kibinafsi, wasifikirie kwamba hii ni pesa ambayo haina mwenyewe na ili hali ni pesa ambayo kila mwananchi hata ule wa chini huwa amechangia. Asante sana. Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nipatia fursa hii.
Very well. The Honorable Farah Yakub, member for Fafi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mine is to support the motion and the report by the committee. The topic of the matter of public investment regulations is a matter of great importance to this country. I believe the loss of money through corruption has been precipitated by lack of this kind of regulations. Mine is to say that the most important thing that has actually attracted my attention is the information system. Most of the projects done by the government, be it the county government or the national government, is scattered all over. And there's no information system apparatus to follow these projects. For us as parliamentarians, our work as an oversight has been curtailed by lack of that information system. I think that this is of great importance to us. If you see most of the public investments projects done through World Bank, be it Dr. Deep, be it Hunger Safety Network, be it smart climate, smart agriculture, be it all the NEDI project, COSAP and all those, they are scattered all over in different departments, and it's difficult for us to oversight. You have to run from one place to another. So this will give us a platform, a quick platform, giving us a transparency, an oversight, accountability, but not only for parliamentarians or the National Assembly, but the entire Kenyans. The other aspect is the aspect of project evaluation, initiation, implementation. This will give us a clear path on where the project stands, how did it come to inception, where is it heading, the status, payments, all these aspects. So I think this report and regulation forwarded by the committee is of much importance to us. It will help us as a government. I think it's long overdue. This regulation should have been there before we have done all these investments. Most of these debts we are having now cannot be accounted for. That is why you see some of the CS saying we are going to bring out some reports A, B, C, D. It's because these reports are hidden in undertables and somewhere we cannot allocate and find where they are. So these information systems, this regulation, as we can see, is a regulation which is overdue, which will help us oversight and see what is happening in the government of Kenya. Also, you will realize that most of the county government projects have been done without budgets. That's why you see pending bills all over. These regulations will help to make sure that the county executive committees, when they are implementing a project, they live within the framework of these regulations. This will help us also to see, despite the fact that it's not our mandate to oversight the county government, but will help as the citizens to also see where our money is going at the county level, not only in the national government level. Mine is to say that I support this motion, I support the regulations. It is a parameter of substance, of health, of great importance in this country, and is an overdue. I'll say I support the committee regulations. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Owen Bayer, member for Kilifi North.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I stand to support these regulations and first thank the committee for a good job well done within a very short time, and commend them for going through these regulations which going forward as a nation are very important. Madam Speaker, what we need to do within government projects is to ensure that we provide a framework for efficient and effective public investment. As it stands now, a lot of the project identification that is being done sometimes is being done from the supply side, not the demand side. Government projects sometimes are being implemented not because there is need for that project, but because people have seen a need to make money out of it. So one of the important things about this regulation is to put on focus public project identification and project planning. Another important aspect which these regulations bring is pre-feasibility and feasibility studies, selection and budgeting, the monitoring and evaluation and reporting, and eventually closure, sustainability, and impact assessment to ensure that there is value for money and optimal use of public resources. Madam Speaker, one of the things that we have seen in this country that have drained public resources is where, especially in the road sector and especially in Kenya. I'll give you an example of the Mombasa-Malindi Road, which now is being redone completely through the East African community, as an East African community road. Madam Speaker, that road, 6 months ago, they were putting shoulders on that road, and it was a huge multi-billion project, putting shoulders on both sides of the road. And before they had even completed, there was another contractor removing the whole road. A new contract had been signed, and they were removing the whole road, while another guy on the other side was putting the shoulders. So they were removing the road plus the new shoulders. That is government money. Today, if you go on that road, the road has been removed because there's a new project to dual the road. So you ask yourself, where was the feasibility study for putting the shoulders, and when was the new design for the road made? And Kenya knew that 3 years ago there was going to be the East African Community Road being put there. But still, money was allocated by Kenya to actually shoulder the road. A Great West. Madam Speaker, if you go on this road that connects, before you get to Integrity Center, NMS, the Nairobi Metropolitan Services, had actually put walkways on both sides of the road. Walkways on the both sides of the road that put the red tiles, and it was looking very nice. But in less than 6 months before even the road was commissioned, they came and removed all those cabro and put in a new tarmac. Didn't they know that they were going to do tarmac before they put the cabro? What that tells you is because there was no agreement, people did not talk, there was no organ that was looking at this. And there's a lot of things that NMS did in this city, and now they are being removed even before use of those items had been. That is what we call waste. That is what we call waste. If you look at the Nairobi Expressway, there's a section they had carpeted recently. When they were doing the Nairobi Expressway, they removed the tarmac. Now they are putting it back. Wastage. Madam Speaker, these regulations are going to help us to stop wastage in this country. And I support these regulations. This is the way to go. Before a project is done, we need to look at it from a whole scope so that we get value for money for the projects that are being done. And therefore, I want to commend the committee and say that Treasury, they should not use these regulations as a bottleneck to fund projects. Because they're going to say, you see, this project cannot be done because of this and this, but if you go there and speak to us nicely, we might find the project. They should not be used as a bottleneck to fund new projects. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Well, the Honorable Beatrice Adagala, member for Vihiga County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also add my voice on this motion for the Committee of Delegated. I want to say congratulations for putting up the regulations, because we have had cases whereby, Madam Speaker, contractors are given work, and the work there is no proper guidelines. Most of them take a long ages to complete this kind of work. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to say this is a good way to go, and I'm supporting the motion Public Investment Management Regulation 2022. I want to support it. If you can look at like the way honorable members have talked about the expressway, I think if regulations can be put in a way that the charges can be reduced so that many people can use it, and then the country is able to repay the debts quickly, and it reverts to the country, to the Kenyan management as early as possible. Another issue is, if these regulations are adopted, it can lead to counties, like mostly our counties that have so many pending bills. You find they are giving contractors work that they have no money to pay. For example, there are contractors who have constructed the CBC classes. They completed a long time ago. Up to now, they have not been paid. So once the framework and the regulation is passed, I think most of the contractors will be able to be paid. And also, these regulations, once put in place, it will ensure most of the investors who come to invest in our country, Madam Speaker, they will be given better rates and better tax holidays so that they can do this, they can invest, more people can invest in our country, Madam Speaker. So I want to congratulate the Committee on Delegated Legislation for the good work they have done, and I want to support this motion, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Very well. The Honorable Member for Tetu, Honorable Geoffrey Mwangi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to add my voice to the Public Investments Management Regulations of 2022. Madam Speaker, first I would like to congratulate the committee for the good work that they have done in preparing these regulations. And I must admit that this is overdue. Just looking at the history of this country, Madam Speaker, the country is littered with very many white elephant projects. And as a country in the past, I think we've been obsessed with what I call activities at the expense of outcomes. So we have had very, very many investments where we cannot demonstrate return on investment. Projects have been done. There has been a lot of duplication of projects. So these regulations will bring sanity to the whole sector of public investment. Madam Speaker, my quick observations from these regulations is one, the provision for a public investment portal. And this is going to bring transparency. This is going to bring accountability in the way we execute our projects. And I would like to say that from the onset, we need to ensure that all public investments are published way before they are executed, so that every Kenyan can be able to see what is happening in each and every part of this country. The tenders must also be published publicly so that every Kenyan can be able to see what is coming up. We must adopt a framework of standardized pricing so that one project, so that the project pricing or the project costing basically becomes standardized. Madam Speaker, it is also very important that we build the capacity of our people. And especially here I'm thinking about counties, whereby counties have taken a lot of roles, even in these regulations. And it is very, very important that there is adequate capacity building from the national government to the counties so that the projects are implemented up to standards. We go to very many places in this country, and even if you are not an engineer, you can tell that a road, a classroom, or a water project is being built at standards that are way, way below par. So it is very, very important that we also incorporate in these regulations some sort of a standards body, some sort of an audit, so that we are able to ensure that once every project is completed, we are able to audit it and see whether it meets the requirements of the different engineering standards for different projects. Madam Speaker, it's also very important that we ensure timely payment of our contractors. One of the reasons that contractors say why they overcharge or why projects in this country are expensive is because once they do any piece of work, they are not very sure when or if they will ever be paid. So it is very, very important that we also ensure that there is timely payment of contractors, and also to ensure that in every project there is an audit to ensure that we get value for money. So, Madam Speaker, as we fight corruption, as we fight wastage, it is very, very important that we put regulations like these ones in place to ensure that the public gets value for money for each shilling. In this country, we say we only get about 60 cents value for every 1 shilling cent. It is very important that in these new regulations, we move that to 80 cents, if not 100% of every shilling that we spend. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I rise to support.
Very well. The Honorable Beatrice Kemei, member for Kericho County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support the motion, and I want to thank the committee for bringing up this very important motion. Madam Speaker, I want to say regulations are very, very important. They play a very important role in our country, and for effective functioning of the society and even for the improvement of the economy, these regulations are very, very important. Madam Speaker, just to add my voice about the expressway. I am one of the people who have used that expressway, and sometimes we call it express, yet, Madam Speaker, we line up for long hours just because people are not allowed to use the M-Pesa. People are just asked to use cash, which sometimes it takes very long, and maybe somebody do not have the cash. And in any way, we are trying to avoid. So when we have these regulations, the expressway will also be actually efficient. And when we have the regulations, we'll be able to also have quality control. And in any case, for accountability, these regulations are very, very important. So I stand to support and thank the committee, and I pray that they move very fast to make it come to pass. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I support.
Very well, member for Nandi County. The Honorable Jared Okello, member for Nyando.
I thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity. From the outset, allow me to flag an issue that is really of a concern to all members of Parliament in this House, and that is the inordinate delay of remission of funds from Parliamentary Service Commission to our workers on the ground. Honorable Speaker, it has been 3 months since they signed new contracts, and most of the constituencies haven't been getting that money. And it is a concern that these people have families to take care of, they have school fees to settle, and many other attendant issues, Honorable Speaker. So your good office needs to help us look into this, even as we also pursue the issue of National Government CDF Fund and the NGAF funds, Honorable Speaker. I'm a member of the Delegated Legislation Committee, and this most important report is stemming from my committee, Honorable Speaker, the Public Finance report, Honorable Madam Speaker. We have had issues on identification and planning of projects. This is one of the areas we would expect this report to address, Honorable Speaker. Just a while back, we had issues with 2 most important dams that were meant to address the waterlessness of certain areas, and these are Aror and Kimwarer dams. If we properly looked into the issues that have been addressed into this report, Honorable Speaker, issues of Aror and Kimwarer, which siphoned public money, and there was no value for that money at the end of the day, could have been addressed at the right time. Honorable Speaker, this report relates to pre-feasibility and feasibility studies, and when you do that, Honorable Speaker, there are many government agencies that will be involved, such as the National Environment Management Authority, to look at the health standards of that project, because recently, Honorable Speaker, we have seen buildings tumbling down and killing Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, just because certain times pre-feasibility and feasibility studies are not properly carried out. The selection for budgeting has been a big issue in this country since time immemorial, Honorable Madam Speaker. We have had cases where those who sing to the tune of the government of the day tend to benefit the more, to the detriment of those whose major responsibility is just to express dissent, which is a constitutional matter, Honorable Speaker. But that has been used to sideline people and deny them projects that are meant for the populace that they serve, Honorable Speaker. So this report is meant to address issues of budgeting that will feed into lots of considerations before we get to that level, Honorable Speaker. There will be the element of monitoring and evaluation, which is key, even as we implement various projects. Honorable Speaker, most people benefited from the last regime, TVETs, the technical training institutions. Up to now, most of them are yet to be completed. And we ask why that delay has been in place, yet they were budgeted for. Constituencies gave out what was due to them, amounting to 10 million per constituency. But up to now, there is no value for this money, Honorable Speaker. There will be the element of reporting in good time and closure, which relates to payments to these contractors. I know this country is grappling with issues of non-payments and delays in paying contractors, Madam Speaker. And then the element of sustainability and impact assessment. If we are not able to sustain projects, Honorable Speaker, then it negates the very purpose of having these projects to begin with. And finally, Honorable Speaker, the value for money and optimal use of public resources. I know public resources tend not to be spent prudently, but with this report, we will be going forward.
Your time is up, Honorable Member. The Honorable Lisa Chelule, Member for Nakuru County. Please give the Honorable Lisa Chelule, Member for Nakuru County, the mic. Will you move to the, are you able to move to the mic that is on? You're going too far. You have one next to you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity also to add my voice to these public investment regulations. I tend to stand and support these regulations, Madam Speaker, because it will act as a roadmap to any kind of project in our counties and in the national government. Madam Speaker, I'm speaking about these regulations because of what happened, even with the project that we all know as the people from Nairobi, the expressway. The expressway is a nice project, but at some point, there is something that was not done. And if these regulations was in place, we would have discovered as the people of this country. Madam Speaker, the expressway from Lolongo to Capital Center was done in a way that if we were monitoring very closely, the expressway was not supposed to exit from Capital Center. This is because when we all exit from one point, you can use 5 minutes from Lolongo to Capital Center, but Capital Center to the city or to CBD, it will take you 3 hours. So
At the end, there will be no point of having an expressway if you cannot be in town on time. Madam Speaker, if I was going to be asked, and if these regulations were in place, the expressway was supposed to exceed from Bunyala Road or Bunyala roundabout, Madam Speaker, to serve the people of this country better. Madam Speaker, I support these regulations because it will create a lot of awareness to the people of this country, especially at the county level. There are so many projects that have been funded by different people. There are projects that are being funded by development partners, and there are some that are being funded by the government. But you know what? The people of a particular area will never know the source of funds to their projects. And in that case, they cannot be able even to supervise. Many people or Kenyans have been suffering because they don't know the source. Sometimes money is allocated by the government and at the same time it's allocated by development partners. But because there is no regulation to it, people will never differentiate the funds that have been given by the either national government or county government. I want to thank the Committee on Delegated Legislation for coming up with such regulations. But it is a different thing to come up with regulations, and it's also a different thing to create awareness among the public. Madam Speaker, I want to request the delegated delegated legislation committee should also come with a way of creating awareness about the regulations, because it is the only committee that is bestowed powers, that has powers to do regulations about everything that is happening in our country, Madam Speaker. You know, it is not good. It could be good to have regulations, the best regulations, and we always have the best policies, but the implementation is the problem. So I want to request the Delegated Legislation Committee to create awareness to the people of this country on these good regulations that they are coming up with. So by these few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
Very well. The Honorable Mutunga, member for Tigania West.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to also comment on these regulations, the Public Investment Management Regulation 2022. Honorable Speaker, if anything needed management, it is public investment in this country. Public investment has been going on without very clear standards, very clear regulations. And the fact that the committee has thought of going through the project cycle management way, I believe this is where we are going to pick our pieces and put them together in order. Honorable Speaker, in the past, most investments avoided serious thinking, serious scrutiny, and serious assessment. The stages outlined, the pre-appraisal, appraisal, the project money development stage, all the way to negotiations, funding or financing, implementation, monitoring, evaluation, audit, and all the others in the project management cycle are very key. Every stage is taken up at any one given time and given sufficient time for it to be thought through. That enables the group or the people planning a project to think through that particular project, look at the viability of this project, and look at how it's going to help the people and how sustainable this project is going to be. I would like to say that, Honorable Speaker, most of the projects funded by some of the key development institutions go through this process, and sometimes they are a bit tedious because they avoid some of the things that happen quickly. Because they don't happen that fast, people avoid that particular process. I'm happy the government has decided that the way to go is the PCM way, and I'll tell you the reason why. One of the things that we will observe today is that, Honorable Speaker, project cycle management creates simplicity. Simplicity is very, very important in the sense that it simplifies the project itself for people to understand. It creates better understanding of that particular project, and understanding yields better implementation, and better implementation yields better results. The second issue about project cycle management is improved productivity, in the sense that we are able to utilize time effectively, and they say that if you cannot manage time better, then you can manage nothing. So most of the projects will be run within the specified time, and therefore they will give us the correct results or the desired results. This leads to successful implementation and successful execution and realization of the results in due time. It also helps us to realize the planned targets. Every project must have targets, and these targets are time-based, and therefore, when realized sequentially, we see the extent to which we are realizing the project as per the results anticipated at the beginning. The other issue that project cycle management brings in is the aspect of transparency. Transparency has been an issue in this country, and it is important that project cycle management is going to be used now in investing public money. Because transparency encompasses communication, it encompasses laying things bare. Project cycle management, as it were, as an approach, basically outlines implementation, outlines the cost, outlines the anticipated output and outcomes, and even the impacts that will be there in the future. It enables clear communication between or within the people who are implementing the project and also the stakeholders who are also key beneficiaries or people who are observant of what is happening. And therefore, it helps us to be able to realize these projects in a better way, in the best way possible. It helps nurture the expectations of stakeholders. Sometimes stakeholders see a project going on, they don't know what is supposed to be done. PCM will have a clear way of communicating what aspects of the projects are expected or anticipated at any one particular point in time, and then it will also be able to give people clear way forward. Honourable Speaker, these regulations have come in a time when we are in the process of investment. Investments in this country need to be focused. Investments in this country need to be tailored in a way that everybody understands and everybody perceives them correctly. Because if they are not perceived correctly, especially by the actors, then we end up wasting money. And we will not have white elephants because PCM will make sure that every aspect of funding, every aspect of the project is taken care of. Honourable Speaker, I support the regulations and thank the committee.
Very well. The Honourable Beatrice Elachi, member for Dagoretti.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support these regulations. And Madam Speaker, I just want to give a very just a short history or a process that many people have gone through the PFM Act. And I'm hoping even as we look at these regulations, Madam Speaker, is that we are trying to look at what the board has also been doing. Because sometimes you find those contractors who have won projects, they would work very closely with the board, and you find every time when there's a project might find itself in a lot of challenges because now the board has come in to interfere. So I'm hoping as we do these regulations, we are also realigning back the powers that indeed when government has given a project, the board does not become an impediment in terms of any project of government that has been released. And so even as we look at the PFM Act, one of the things that we must also look at is to ask ourselves how government can be able, and I'm hoping the regulations are also binded to assist government to complete a project within the time frame that has been given. And so, Madam Speaker, one issue that this House must now look at, and that is one of the challenges we've faced, where you find many pending bills. Because the project it was supposed to start at this time frame, it was stopped because it went through a court case or it went to the board, and now the board has decided they have to go through. It takes a long time, and we don't look at that, and at that time of the project is just moving. So, Madam Speaker, if we want to see government achieve and our constituencies getting development, then we must ensure the cycle time frame of that project, from planning to implementation, is taken in consideration, even if the project will have any challenges that will be on the way. And so the regulations must guide government, but also guide the different institutions that are part of that project. The other thing, Madam Speaker, that we appreciate about having regulations is that it also now brings in transparency. It assists you to have an open eye of what is happening. And even the members of parliament are able to go, and you will find now data that you can look and ask yourself, why is it that this project of water has not moved at this level? Why is it that we are not at this time frame says within 3 months, 6 months, we're supposed to be here. Why are we not there? And how can a member of parliament now go back to push government and say, look, who are supposed to do and complete my project within this time. Our people are still suffering because of 1, 2, 3. The third thing why we need regulations is to tame in the morning, we've just spoken about regulations of public investment. We are lucky again, now we are talking about the PFM Act. These things go together. And so we are hoping also our officers in government will appreciate that we have regulations that guide us. We have regulations that we can sit and ensure within a project that we have been given, money is spent in a transparent way, but also effectively, in an efficient way that you gain and achieve what you want. Why CDF has been one of those projects that move and you achieve and you are able to see results is because of how strictly this House decided to put and itemize how the projects should move. As we move on, we also need to talk to Treasury that it is time you itemize your projects so that people will understand your projects. Because it's also one thing that has killed this House, that we have a budget that is billions and you are never told in an itemized way how can you achieve this budget within this. And so all these tools that we are getting are tools to support us now to get a budget that can be a budget that is more transparent, a budget that is able to move us forward. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I beg to support.
The Honorable Dorothy Ikiara, nominated member. The Honorable Dorothy Kiara, I think we may need to give you a different mic. Please give her a different mic. Move to the next one.
Yeah? Okay. This is okay. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support this very, very important committee, the Committee on Delegated Legislation, for coming up with this Public Management Finance Regulation 2022. Madam Speaker, we are all aware of what has happened in Kenya in the past. Projects come, investors come, they are given projects and they do them in a manner that nobody understands. Madam Speaker, as I likely got it from the committee, this regulation is meant to guide on how public resources will be used. Madam Speaker, it's very important because there will be transparency, there will be accountability, and prudent use of public resources will be captured here. I'm saying this, Madam Speaker, because we've realized most of the projects stall because of the bureaucracies that take place sometimes in the award of tenders, sometimes in the way this work is done, and the project ends up using more money than it was meant to. And yet, there is now no way of accounting for it. Madam Speaker, I do know that Kenyans are struggling with very high taxes simply because of the debts that we have incurred as a country. And all these debts that Kenyans are paying today.
The Honorable Ekomas Mutuse, what is out of order?
Madam Speaker, I apologize. Somebody must have
error.
Yeah, it was not my. It's somebody who was mischievous. I apologize, but we'll be requesting to contribute on these regulations, Madam Speaker.
In that case, the Honorable Dorothy Kiara, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm saying these regulations have come in early. They have come at the right time, and I say I support the regulations. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Gideon Kimaio, member for Keio South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this motion on the public investments management. And from the onset, I thank the Committee on Delegated Legislation for the work they have done on these regulations. Madam Speaker, these regulations will assist in curing the issue of wastage. It will also assist in curing the issue of bending bills and also the issue of corruption, in that it will check on issue of transparency and accountability. Madam Speaker, as we talk about this bill, members of Parliament here have talked about expressway. But myself, coming from Elgeyo Marakwet, I'm at pain, and my people also from Elgeyo Marakwet are at pain because of the issue of Aror and Kimwarer. If there have been regulations such as these ones, my people from Kimwarer and Aror would be enjoying water in their homes. As we know, the project was stalled because there was lack of visibility study. But as we go forward, I urge the executive and the president also to check into it, and if proper measures are taken, I know the project will come to life. Also, this bill is important in that it specifies the roles of each individual or the institution. For example, in the county, it will check what will the CEC do, or the county assembly. In the national government, it will also keep what the accounting officer in terms of Ministry of Finance and the National Assembly will do. At the same time, this regulation, I'm also...
I have a point of order. What is out of order, Honorable Dr. Pukose?
Madam Speaker, without interrupting my colleague from the member for Keio South, I stand on standing order number 95, that since all of us we have a massive support on this bill, that the mover be called to reply. Madam Speaker, that since we have a lot of support on these regulations, and these are key, very important regulations, that the mover be called to reply. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Keio South, you may conclude, then I'll check whether that is the mood of the House. So please conclude your debate on this motion, on this report.
So, as much as I support the same...
I think you had a remainder of about 2 minutes, so
okay,
you have 2 minutes
thank you, Madam
conclude.
Speaker. My worry with this regulation is on the exemption. On the miscellaneous part of it, the regulations talks about exemptions, and the Minister for Treasury has been given leeway on the exemptions. I am afraid that the same may be abused by whoever will be given the exemptions, but all in all, I support the regulations. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, the Honorable Dr. Pukose, member for Endebess, has raised a point of order that the mover be called upon to reply, and I would like to establish whether that is the mood of the House. Is that the mood of the House? Yes. So the mover.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to reply, and as you note, Madam Speaker, that this public finance management regulation is set out to give guidelines on project cycle management, to maintain public management information systems to help in decision making as far as public investments are concerned, as well as to allocate responsibilities in various institutions as far as public management, public investment management processes are concerned. And this, Madam Speaker, will enhance transparency, accountability, and prudent use of public resources, and also increase the public participation. These are ingredients which have been seen missing in the past public investment management. And with this regulation, Madam Speaker, this will be taken care of in the most prudent and appropriate manner. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the members of my committee, which is led by a very able chairman, Honorable Chepkonga. And also I want to thank the office of the clerk for the secretarial services which they offered to this committee. Honorable Speaker, I also thank the members of this House for their contribution and support of this regulation, which is going to ensure there is a paradigm shift in the Republic of Kenya as far as public finance management is concerned. Madam Speaker, with this, I beg to reply. And probably I can donate. Thank you. I beg to reply. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
You would have done that before you replied, so you do not have the opportunity now. Honorable members, having established that we have the requisite numbers, I now put the question, which is that this House adopts the report of the Committee on Delegated Legislation on its consideration of the Public Finance Management, Public Investments Management Regulations 2022, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, November 30th, 2022, and pursuant to provisions of Section 24, Subarticle 4 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012, approves the Public Finance Management, Public Investments Management Regulations 2022, published as legal notice number 54 of 2022. Will as many as of this opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, there be no other business. There be no other business, and the time being 12:43 p.m. Honorable members, order. Honorable members, there be no other business, and the time being 12:44 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Thursday, 8th of December 2022 at 2:30 p.m.
dedicated reader when you were a child. You haven't changed a bit, even here in the human realm. I value his life more than my own. Those other women can't compare to me.
Zeno told me, you fed me with your blood for 70,000 years. Is that true?
If I had to give my life for you, I wouldn't hesitate. If my heart's blood was what you needed to live, then it was all worth it. I'm happy. I'm happy you've returned.
Mother!